Don't you think this is starting to wear on me? You've been raining down like hell. I'm weak. I have tried to give you my soul, but you can't love something you own. It's too late to repair what we made. What can I do? Time flashed by and I woke up on the other side of the...
G'day everybody and welcome to my channel. You got me in stitches. I'm Anna. I hope you guys have had a fantastic week, whatever you have been doing. So today it's a little bit later, I know guys, sorry, had quite a bit of busy weekend, which is part of my video today, and it's going to be showing and telling about my experience with Anika from Made to Sew. Okay guys, so my journey began quite a few weeks ago, and I finally found the courage to contact the wonderful Anika from Made to Sew, because I was kind of a little bit unhappy through my journey of making my own clothes. Now, although I have been sewing on and off my entire life, most of my sewing has been predominantly practical things, so things for around the home like aprons and cushions, you know, bed covers, napkins, all sorts of things like that, toys and so on. So yeah, there's a whole bunch and a whole different, and even sewing related things like, you know, sewing mats or machine sewing mats, you know, sewing machine mats, sewing covers for your various machines. And yeah, so clothing, although I have attempted, you know, my younger years to do dressmaking and things like that, it was always, as much as I wanted to go down that journey in a more serious way, in a professional way, unfortunately just circumstances through life never took me down that journey. And again, now as I'm quite a bit older, it's something I really seriously want to get involved in and, you know, take a more of a professional journey, and also a journey with myself, and it's about self-discovery and all sorts of wonderful things. So yeah, so that first message, I was absolutely terrified and absolutely wonderful. Anika is just so professional and so kind, and patience, absolutely phenomenal, and her expertise, as you know, if any of you are familiar, absolutely fantastic, phenomenal. And yeah, so the journey started a little while ago with just a message, and eventually it came to having a one-to-one. So again, I will link Anika's, because she does videos as well on YouTube, and obviously her website. So again, for those of you that are familiar with her classes, so you can make various things through her classes, and also do some one-to-ones. I kind of wanted both, but finances kind of, you know, depicted what I could and couldn't do, and also time, because Anika herself, you know, her schedule is, you know, it must be just so busy, and yeah, and fitting schedules and times and things and everything so it would all work together. A little bit of a minefield, isn't it? So, and even on the 2 days that I had recently, they obviously was a Saturday and the Sunday, but originally my first day was supposed to be a couple of weeks ago, and we had to reconfigure that, which is fine, you know, it's life, that's how it happens. And to be fair, it kind of worked out for me okay, because kind of when you're learning on your first day, you know, your brain absorbs so much information, and you know, I'm someone that questions everything, and yeah, there's just so much, and my brain seriously is just buzzing now with the hours that I've had with the one-to-one, and I've absorbed so much and learnt so much, and now I kind of want to put all that into practice. Because again, we look at our garments, and although, you know, you've seen my makes and everything like that, you know, the camera doesn't pick up everything. And as much as I'm truthful and show you, you know, because it's just as much about the journey of, you know, the fails as well as the successes. But even with my successes, they're not what I would call sort of professional successes. Now I know the word professional, you kind of think of work and jobs and things like that, but I mean, you know, you want your garments to be professional, you know, those really good stitching lines, you know, stitching in the ditch, you want, you know, your stitches to actually form in the ditch and not out of the ditch. You know my journey with buttons and buttonholes and things like that, and again, it's the precision and everything to execute, you know, the fine finishes, and it really does matter. You know, I have had sort of people doing this journey, and with any journey, with anyone in life, you know, there are so many variables, and you know, you sort of say, oh yeah, you know, stitch a button on, just as an example, and it's like there's far more involvement than just stitching on a button, and you know, configuring everything and the measurements and the math and everything that's involved. You know, and people say to me, when you break it down, it's like, oh, you make it so difficult for yourself, don't you? It's not that bad. Well, actually it is, because in any learning journey and experience that you acquire from that, it is a lot to take in to start with, and then you find your feet and you find your rhythm and how you work and how your brain, because for me, I'm more of a visual learner, sometimes I can just look at something and just click straight away how that comes together and not necessarily need any tuition and or any instruction, you know, written or verbal. And whilst other times, you know, sometimes it just takes a while for it to cement in my brain, because for whatever reason, you know, my way of perhaps interpreting things, you know, is going to be a little bit more tricky than perhaps somebody else that might take to something quite easily. We're all different, and all our journeys are always very, very different. So yeah, and absolutely phenomenal, really wonderful and fantastic. Anika is just, I don't know, you know, when sometimes, I don't know, through schooling or lectures, you know, university and that, you know, if you've got a teacher and you just click, you know, when sometimes you just click, your brains, your minds, your thought processes, you know, if you've got similar ideas and all the rest of it, you know, you just, yeah, you just click together, and it's just so much easier. And also the way people teach and the way they deliver their sentences and things like that, you know, again, through teaching my son, I teach him everything, and a lot of people sort of miss out the middle journey. You know, if my son perhaps asks me a question, I'm not going to cut him off and say, oh, it's just because that's the way it is. You know, you explain the full journey and explain how you get there, so then they've got a picture in their mind of how your interpretation is related to their way of thinking, so it can click for them. So, you know, if there's, I don't know, a piece of rock, you know, just again for an example, you say, oh, how is that formed, why is it that shape, instead of just saying, oh, because it is, as much as you can know through your own knowledge, you say, well, you know, it came from the planet, you know, it evolved over, you know, many years and things like that, and changing shape and changing colour, and you know, sometimes we buy those rocks, so therefore man has got involved and, you know, smoothed curves off so they're not so sharp, and also the colours and things like that. So a description is quite a long journey, and sometimes we miss out on that. And again, I know I'm using examples, but that relates to everything, not just sewing. I mean, if you're cooking and baking, there's no point saying, oh, we just do it like this. Explain how, you know, how to, you know, measure properly and accurately, and timing is everything. And yeah, you wouldn't just sort of throw everything all in at once, because everything takes, you know, different times. So yeah, so that sewing journey and everything there is, again, most of you know all this, I know, but some of us who, you know, are kind of in the middle of the journey, or just starting out, you know, there is a lot to take on, and sometimes people, you know, perhaps don't want to perhaps take that first step, but believe me, you will find your own feet, you will find, you know, you will find your way of doing things that's suited for you, and it just will all click into place. Now, although I had all those tools in my mind, it's like a jigsaw puzzle. Sometimes you just need to find those pieces that kind of spread out everywhere, and then, you know, fix them together. And sometimes, you know, it's like dotting the I's and T's. Sometimes, you know, you may mismatch one or something, and it's the same with those puzzles. You find a piece and not always it's going to click into the one that you thought it would go, and then one day you pick up the right one and it's clicked in fantastically, and it's like, oh yeah, that's right, it's connected now. So yeah, predominantly fitting for all of us is something that we have lots of trials and errors with, and it's a long journey and things like that, and it's so important for the function of that garment and for us to feel comfortable in what we wear. And isn't it amazing sometimes when you find something that is fitted so well, we kind of carry ourselves differently, and also through our journey with making our own clothes. And it's just that, I don't know, light bulb moment and that proud moment, isn't it, when something all finally comes together with all our hard work and research and, you know, personal fitting, whether you go to classes or one-to-ones, or, you know, you have somebody in the family or a friend that helps, because it is hard when you're self-fitting as well, like your muck-up. The moment you move, that's it, the muck-ups move. Now I know having mannequins and things like that is the next best thing, but also, you know, to have one that is actually conformed to your own personal sizes is absolutely fantastic, because then, you know, it's kind of a replica of you, but not everybody can afford kind of those prices. And yeah, so, but yeah, for fitting for me, and it was like, you know, the questions like, you know, for instance, just for an example, you know, you raise your arm and your whole garment comes up, and, you know, finding the answers to why that happens, and, you know, the way the seams are and the stitching, and also on a lot of ready to wear. I mean, not every single human is going to be measured, so therefore everybody is different. Doesn't matter how slight the differences in the measurements, you know, it is what it is, and they have to do sort of regular basic blocks for the majority of people to kind of fit to. But most of us, you know, we are all different, and we all do have to make those adjustments. But again, to do your self adjustments and having somebody else, especially a professional, it's very, very different. It just is. And also, if you're not entirely sure how to do, because obviously for me, I've got this drop shoulder on this side, and, you know, you think you could just nip a little bit in and shorten it and tauten it, and sometimes it's not just simply doing that. And for me, in this journey with Anika, when we were looking at my sleeve on this shirt, because you guys have seen this before and you know that I have, this was originally a ready to wear, and I made tweaks to kind of fit my then size body, and again I've changed a little bit as well. But it was noticing, it's funny, isn't it, as much as you do learn to start to see things differently, and also when other people, you know, help teach you to see things differently. It's like we wear something, we look in the mirror, but sometimes if somebody like takes a photograph for whatever reason, it does look different. So we do get different perspectives on our own journeys, and or through looking at other people's makes or ready to wear, if they choose to wear ready to wear, and how they hang a little bit differently. And yeah, so I'd learn with this drop shoulder how to do that. And again, you know, it's not always necessarily just, you know, lifting and tweaking measurements and things like that. You know, there's a lot of other issues going on, and arm size and where the seam lays and things like that. So, and a lot of math involved, which is not my strong point, I'm afraid. So yeah, so for me, primarily for my one-to-ones, it was fixing this drop shoulder, because it was really starting to annoy me. I was making, you know, the clothes that you've seen, and you guys are fantastic, you know, with helping me when you look back on your videos and or stills, and you see things differently. And I noticed a lot with the back and all the gathering with the fabric there. And again, I think one or two of you ladies had kindly said about suggesting sway back, and I'd never done a sway back, and again, that is also something that Anika had showed me. Now that clicked for me straight away when she was showing how to do it and all the rest of it. I'm not going to go into detail, because obviously, you know, this is her business and everything like that, so you can go to her channel and or website and, you know, find all the wealth of information there. And it just all came together really quickly. Obviously it was more involved with the shoulder and, you know, the seams along the arm size, the actual top shoulders, and I needed to have the fabric from the back brought forward, and also then now when I do my pattern, it's like two different shoulder measurements. So instead of now perhaps putting patterns on the fold, I would actually open that out so it would be cut as one pattern, because obviously all the different retakes of the measurements and everything like that. So yeah, it was mind-blowing, to be honest. You know, there's so much information going on, and some of the stuff I just got straight away, and some of it now my brain is buzzing with all this information, and now I've got all this extra knowledge, and I can now move forward with my journey and put everything into practice. And again, just to keep practicing and practicing until you get it right. And also, I mean, what is right for us now, our bodies, whether you're, you know, a woman or a man, they naturally change. They go through natural changes, and mine, you know, for various reasons, are going through natural changes now, perhaps a little bit more early than I kind of hoped. And my sizing is much more different now to what it was, you know, a few months ago, and then, you know, a few months prior to that, or a couple of years ago. Although I kind of was pretty much the same size for most of my adult life, you know, for varying reasons, you know, you are going to naturally change, and you're going to occur changes through, you know, because I have a teenage earthling. So again, my body changed, you know, during pregnancy, and you know, after pregnancy for a while until everything settled down. And again, you know, for those people, Joey Sew It, actually, you go over here to her channel, and again, she has made some fantastic videos on, you know, who we are and different people through different reasons why our bodies are so, you know, we're not, perhaps, you know, some people don't have all their limbs, or, you know, through accidents their backs and everything are different, or, you know, through, for whatever reason our bodies are the way they are, the shapes and the sizes, through health issues, and, you know, through people and children, you know, who cannot have as much mobility as most of us kind of sometimes take for granted. You know, there's ways that you have to rejig the whole, you know, interpretation of all these clothes and everything that we need to have us, you know, keep us warm and comfortable, especially if you're in a situation where you're in a wheelchair all day and you can't get up and move around, you know, to find those fabrics and everything like that, and to be comfortable and to have access, you know, if you ever needed to go to the bathroom and things like that. So it's phenomenal. But again, I will do my best to link Joey Sew It's channel, because she showed, you go over and watch that, and yeah, that was fascinating. And again, because I used to do home care nursing, again, for me, I kind of already knew most of that anyway. And yeah, fantastic. So with Anika, I wanted all this shoulder area to be sided out, and the sway back and things like that, and also to have like proper body measurements, because as much as we measure ourselves, or, you know, you have help with people measuring you, you know, to have somebody professional that does that, it just makes everything so much better. So then at least, you know, the measurements are more accurate and things like that. And also, you know, some of us do, I don't, I am very honest with my body, or always have, but you know, there are some people out there that don't perhaps like the measurements that they come out with, but we are what we are, and you know, we should be proud of that. So yeah, I've got some bits and pieces here just to show you with the mock-ups that we did, so I will do that in a second. Okay, so this is one of my mock-ups here. So we left one sleeve off on my left side, and I had sewn on the right hand side sleeve, and then obviously Anika helped with the resizing and configuring of everything, hence why there are pins and everything in. This shirt is based on the one that I'm currently wearing, and then in the back here is pinned for obviously the demonstration of the sway back. So it's a very, very basic mock-up in this inexpensive fabric that I thrifted. And yeah, also, which I was shocked in, kind of, not an astonishing shock, kind of a surprised way. So to do a small bust adjustment, so on here we tweaked because obviously on this pattern I had, you know, did a few tweaks and everything like that, so obviously I've still had the original pattern that I did all my adjustments and, you know, put down all on my paper. So I've got a hard copy on paper in here. So I needed the extra fabric that was along, if I try and sit up a little bit, along here, because I think you can see there the extra fabric. So that was reconfigured and I adopted that in this mock-up here. So even just wearing this mock-up, when you put it on, I don't know if it's really going to show, because now we've kind of reconfigured it. We've got it on, but I mean, even just putting this on here and losing all this extra fabric is just absolute game changer. I mean, it really is. I know it sounds simple, but, and also I've never done any bust area adjustment, so that was a huge new learning curve, and again loads of things buzzing around in my head, and again that will now springboard me to all my future makes. Okay, also I did the made to sew copen, so this is kind of the block that we did lots of reconfiguring, as you can see there, guys. And yeah, so plenty of homework. So I did a lot of homework on Sunday morning from the day before, Saturday's reconfiguring, and I'll insert a picture here. Thank you, Teenage Earthling, because one of my kitty cats, you know what they're like, guys, especially you guys who've got kitty cats, when you are laying patterns out, fabric and all the rest of it, yeah, your little furry friends decide to go and roll around. So yes, insert picture here. And yeah, so on Sunday we did a lot of modifications and tweaks and getting all the math and everything configured, and I'm not brilliant at doing, I'm an inches girl. I've occasionally worked in centimeters, and oh, it's starting to rain, oh well. And yeah, so you know, 3/8, 5/8 and 2/8, and when you start getting down into much smaller increments, it makes math very interesting, doesn't it? So okay, in the fabric, so I had made another mock-up in this cotton fabric, and there are darts at both the back and the front, and also the back isn't connected on here, so this is currently the back. Also there, don't know if you can see yet, that is, show the inside on the sway back adjustment that we did there, and also all the configurations in everything on both of the sleeves and the arm size. There we go. And it's funny as well, when you're being taught by a professional, you as sewists, come on, we all got to admit this, we all do fall into little sort of sneaky bad habits, and I made sure that my stitching and measurements were so accurate. And also on the darts, as you can see here, I stitched, is that going to, yeah, focus from the middle all the way down, from the middle all the way to the top, and usually I would do from the point all the way down to the bottom point. So yeah, but I did it, I made sure I did it correctly. It's like, yeah. And also it has a bustard, yeah. And I think because obviously on my torso, I think we added a little bit along there. So this is my mock-up of Anika's made to sew copen, and I put a lot of detailing in it, so there's a lot of writing everywhere, you know, just the waist points and everything that you would need to reconfigure your block and reconfigure all your measurements and everything like that. So now, and obviously all the extra measurements on the paper markup as well, so I'm going to retrace all that out with all the new reconfigured measurements, and yeah, I'll start sewing some more mock-ups, and then that will then follow through to kind of everything else. And although it seems a bit of a minefield to get your head around, once you get into that rhythm, it does become natural, it really does. And for you guys that have obviously already experienced that journey, you know what it was like to go through all those processes and everything, and where you are now, you know. And I mean, as much as people have been sewing perhaps all their life, whether it's professional or not, you know, we do get sometimes a little bit complacent in our tweaks. You know, we know that we can do a few shortcuts and things like that, and you know, some of those shortcuts are fine, you know, don't get me wrong, and but also some people are very regimented in the way that they do their sewing, or whatever it is, their craft that they do, whether it's professional or for themselves. So again, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Obviously we all know there's a right way and a wrong way, but sometimes going to those journeys, each journey for every individual is a little bit different. So somebody might say, oh, you can't do that like that, but if that's your journey and this is my journey, as long as we get the outcome that we desire, does it matter if it takes a little bit of a different journey? No, I don't think it does. And what's good for one person isn't necessarily good for the other, because again, we are all very different. And also learning, we learn different, we learn at different stages, we learn at different speeds, and sometimes the way that we deliver our lines, sentences, descriptions, whatever you would like to call it, you know, some people get it straight away, some people take a little bit longer, some people, you know, again, like with me, I'm more visual, so the pictorial, sometimes I could just look at something and I just know how to, you know, do the concise needs of whatever that requirement is. It's just the way it is. There's so many variables, but I think once we find our happy ground in our journey, then that sets us up. You know, it's the foundations, isn't it? You've got the foundations, and then you've got your building blocks, and you just carry on that journey for as long as it takes to get where you are comfortable and you know what you're doing and everything like that. Yeah, and I just think it's amazing, and this is why I have so much admiration for everybody and whatever they do. It's just, yeah, it's just really, really wonderful, whether you're self-taught or you've had a little bit of mix of professionalism and or self-taught, because that's a little bit both for me. And yeah, but for me overall, I just was not happy. And now looking back on my previous me mades, I mean, I will still keep them. You know, my body's going through a different journey, I'm going through a different journey, through, you know, different mental challenges, physical challenges, you know, we all do, whether we want to admit it or not, we all do. And yeah, for me, I needed my next building block on that foundation, I needed to go to somebody professional. And also, I didn't feel afraid to ask questions. Again, in my life personally, it's really hard. I kind of never spoken up, because sometimes you always get that feeling you're not going to be listened to, you're not going to be understood, you're not going to be heard. And I've missed out on so much, you know, and there's so many people out there that don't want to give you the time of day, they're rude, they're condescending, and you know, it's really upsetting sometimes. And through this journey, for whatever it is that we do, you know, we find some really good people, whether they're professional or not, and you know, that is really, really important, just to take that time. So again, for anyone that's had Aneka's lessons, whether it's one-to-ones or just classes, you know what it feels like. You know her professional mannerism and everything like that, and the way she teaches is just, yeah, like I said, phenomenal. I know I'm going to use that word a lot, but she is. And for me, you know, and my personal way that I think and everything, we just clicked. And yeah, I'm going to carry this for the rest of my life. And yeah, I just feel, you know, she was so kind, she was so patient. You know, of course you can have lots of questions, and you know, she just answered them, and it was, and I'm so grateful. And also that now brings me on to, again, Anika has given me permission. I filmed a thank you gift that I presented her, and I know I didn't have to, and she said I didn't have to, but for me personally, I just like to do that because it shows that I'm so grateful and I'm so appreciative. And you know, I know they're paid lessons, and I know that, and I know we're all different, but sometimes thank you is just not enough in words, and I just want to give her something that she could keep forever and hopefully make something out. So yeah, I'll insert that either now or at the end, and you can see that, and a couple of little stills of us, not too much, you know, because again, being respectful and everything. So but for me it was just phenomenal. And again, if you guys have had a journey like this with Anika or with somebody else, again, get a conversation piece going and tell me what it was like for you and your journey. Or even if you haven't and you've had your self-teaching journey, you know, what is it like for you? How is it when you look back over, say, a year ago or 5 years ago? You know, do you do the same processes? Have you tweaked your processes? You know, or have you even now started to teach other people? Because again, that was something that I kind of wanted to do. I wanted, you know, I've got a few things going on. I have made some makes. I'll probably do a Wednesday video and talk more about that, because then that will evolve hopefully into something else. I've just got a few ideas. And yeah, so but this is my journey, guys, and I hope that you've enjoyed it. And yeah, it's a chatty one, so if you've made it this far, thank you so much. Yeah, so I hope you have enjoyed this, and I always feel, as I guess you guys are perhaps the same through experiences, sometimes there's just never enough time, is there? I could have had so much more time with Anika, and now I'm kind of on my own, and I've got to put now into practice everything that I needed to have the configuration with my body, and I'm so excited. And yeah, it's just, I wish I had done this a bunch of time ago now, but it is what it is. And you know, moving forward with this, it's just going to be, I don't know, I know this sounds daft, but kind of semi life changing. I think, I don't know, it's like with anything, isn't it? When we do sort of take a look and I'm trying to get out, sorry guys, stumbling now. It was just like looking in the mirror at the clothes that I was wearing, and then the tweaks that we had done and everything, and the next day putting on those tweaks and the mock-ups, and it was actually quite emotional, I will admit that. And yeah, it's, I don't know, it's almost like kind of looking inside yourself but through your garments, and you know, everything tells a story, doesn't it? Whether it's an inner story or not, you know. And I think that's where, as much as, you know, we have these trends in fashion and everything, and I've never really followed fashion in the sense of, like, you know, copying, because kind of everybody, oh, that new thing comes out, everybody wants to wear it and or sew it and things like that. And don't get me wrong, there's some fantastic things out there, and you know, I will only make something if I really, really like it. I'm not just going to make it because, oh, because somebody else is wearing it. And also, you know, much later on, you think of, you know, you think of the couture, and you think of all the phenomenal work that gets involved. I mean, there are hundreds, if not thousands of hours that sometimes, you know, you see, you know, perhaps well-known people wearing absolutely astonishing garments, and you think of how many hands, how many millions of stitches have gone in to each individual garments. And yeah, I have a couple of people that I look, and I like Nicole Kidman, and I think some of her garments are just, yeah, they're sensational. And it really uplifts a person, doesn't it? I know we don't wear that in our everyday lives, and I know that we would perhaps never ever be in fortunate situations like that where we would wear perhaps such beautiful garments, but there's nothing wrong with thinking and dreaming and having thoughts and ideals and ambitions and things like that, whether they come to any fruition or not. Yeah, so, but yeah, everyday wear, it's lovely to be able to feel comfortable, even if it's in just everyday clothing. you know, just even around the house or in the garden or things like that. And you know, when we take our time, you know, when we go out, we'll go to weddings, or we've got, you know, some function that desires, you know, really lovely fitting clothes and all the little bits and pieces that we accessorize with it. So I've kind of never been like that. I don't know, I've always been shy away from things like that. And yeah, I don't know, I guess because I like wearing shirts and things like this, it's like there's just something about a beautiful, really good fitting, crisp, white, clean shirt. I don't know. What's yours, guys? What's your sort of number one everyday wear, but also, you know, things like a crisp, clean shirt, you know, in the corporate world or something like that? I don't know. Clothes have several voices, don't they? You can dress them up, dress them down, and they speak volumes, but in so many different ways. So, you know, something like even pyjamas, just something really lovely to kind of relax in the evening and wear to bed. I do remember the wonderful Gemma from OmgLoSteve when I think she made, I think it was full length pyjamas, so you know, pants and a shirt, and having sort of more of that satiny feel, and you're sort of sliding about. It's more comfortable than perhaps, you know, a cotton fabric where you're kind of sticking to the bed sheet. You know, as much as we don't perhaps admit that or realise, it's true, it does happen. And yeah, I think sometimes I'm someone that kind of notices everything and observe. I am a silent observer. Guys, if you've made it this far, I am so grateful to you. I hope you've enjoyed my little journey today with everything that I've shown and told about. Take care, guys, have a fantastic week, and thank you so much for watching. Okay everybody, so this wonderful lady does not need any introduction because I think we all know who she is, and I have been having some one-to-one time with her and absolutely phenomenal, and obviously I will talk all about that a little bit separately. The one-to-one time has come to an end now, hasn't it?
Very
it's so
sadly.
sad. I don't want it to come to an end, and I just wanted to get this little bit on film because it's a little thank you gift from me to you.
You really didn't need to do that. That's really
so much. Wow. I mean,
you didn't need to get me anything.
No, I didn't.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, it's appreciation. So, for the purpose of the lens, just
hold it up. Okay.
So first of all, sorry it's not wrapped, but this is your card.
Oh, you didn't need to. Honestly, you're so sweet. You really didn't need to get me anything. You are sweet. This is so
one lady
kind.
will disagree.
Oh, bless you. Oh my goodness.
Oh,
I
you
like
want
it when people write me letters. No, this is wonderful. I love when you write me letters and cards.
Sean always says it's like illegible.
No, I can read it, thank you. Never really seems enough. The few hours I've spent with you learning the alterations I've sewn will stay with me forever. I feel like I'm going back to sewing basics again, which is great. As will something what I would not really figure out just this time around. Sewing is a journey, lifelike, and we meet some really wonderful people. And you are one of them. Oh, that's lovely. Don't ever change. Don't let anyone make you feel that you have to change. You are you, and being you is awesome. Oh, bless you. I'm going to cry. Your knowledge of excellent sewing skills is incredible. So many people have learned so much from you, and you should be very proud of your achievements. Keep doing what you enjoy. Spread stitches of greatness. Oh, I love that. Spread stitches of greatness throughout. You radiate so much energy and happiness to people. Oh, bless you. And so much more. I'm eternally grateful. Oh, Annika, you're so kind. And honestly, you really did not need to do that.
Like, because these are wrapped, just close your eyes for 2 seconds.
Oh, bless you. You really didn't. Oh, my goodness, they're gorgeous. Oh, hang on, I'm going to hold that.
Yeah, hold it up, show the viewers.
Oh, it's a Disney. Oh, my goodness. Bambi ones like your top.
Exactly like the shirt, yeah.
You are so kind. Thank you so much. You really didn't need to give me anything.
It's just back borders, so whatever you'd like to stitch.
Oh, I look at them. What's
Stitch up.
Is this? Oh, Bambi.
It's all
Bambi
Bambi.
and Thumper. Can they see? Oh, this. Oh, these are lovely. Oh, honestly, You are so kind.
Blubbery. I don't think my views were blubbers.
I love foxes as well.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
Doesn't matter. Foxy lady.
Yes, I love it. Thank you very, very much. These are really cute, thank you.
So, I was just saying, there's no point me telling you how to, or suggesting because you know how to sew. Even you could do a little wall hanging or a little bag. Or
no little bags, I think. Yeah, makeup bag in that. I love this one. I love all of them.
Or
they are so
or a cushion,
oh,
just a big cushion and a plain bag or something.
Oh, that's cute as well. Thank you very, very much.
For anyone above my views who doesn't know who this lovely lady is.
You want me to introduce myself? Okay.
Yes.
So my name is Anika from Made to Sew, and I have a YouTube channel, tutorials. I have lots of YouTube tutorials, but I have a YouTube channel where I teach a variety of sewing things, really, from complete beginner stuff to sort of advanced things like pattern cutting, pattern alterations, tailoring, that kind of thing.
Fantastic.
So yes.
Absolutely awesome, this lady.
Thank you very, very much.
Oh my god, yeah, seriously. Can we have some nice pictures? So anyway, guys, yeah. Man in background, not teenage Ashley. Okay, so signing off. So yeah, wonderful. And thank you so much.
No, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you. Bye.
That's it, isn't it? Where are you? Are you going to take pictures as well, please?
Oh, sorry. I get it.
Yeah, it's all right. No, you can come in. You can take stills because.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. You can. Well, when we're filming, just don't talk. I mean, I am filming now, but I'll edit all this out, obviously.
Don't you dare speak.
Don't you think this is starting to